I said, well, I'll ride a Scout too, so I fixed me up a Scout, and then I really went fast. It was so much easier to ride, you know. When the race started, I went right through the pack and got the lead. Probably in 5 laps, I was in the lead of that one.
As long as they've been around, motorcycles have been a vehicle for self-expression. It's exactly why we wrench on bikes, chop them up, and make them our own. But there's more to it than that. It's the journeys and experiences that only motorcycles can provide. We're not just riding, we're writing our life stories, one unforgettable ride at a time. It's a life worth living and stories worth sharing. You know, the Forge program's been going for a little bit. Last year, I think they knocked a couple Indian chiefs out, sport chiefs, and it was fun watching those bikes come together, fun watching the show, watching Carrie and, you know, all the boys build these bikes. So this year, now we got Scout. And, you know, I've been deeply involved in Scout for a long time, so pretty stoked to get the call to host the Forge series for the new Indian Scout. We've got some great builders coming up, and I'm gonna take the ride with everybody. The Scout back in the day was known as a high-performance bike. They raced it, you know, all across the country, and it was used for a lot of different things. It was a very usable bike. It was fairly lightweight, so it would work for someone who was getting started in motorcycling as well as somebody who wanted to ride a high-performance bike. With the new bike, they started with a steel chassis, and that, I think, changes the game as far as what you can do with the bike. It's got just a lot of good parts on it, you know, high quality stuff. They simplified the motor a little bit. The suspension does what it's supposed to do. It's where it needs to be. It's simple. It's based on tried and true geometry, but the new bike it's bitchin'. Right from the get-go, we realized Aaron was a talented guy and he was capable of doing a lot of different things. He came from tube fab, and I just started depending on him, and you know, we were able to craft the creations that I came up with.
6 months later or so, I get this random call, and it's Roland. He goes, "Hey man, I remember your work, I love all your stuff. Would you be interested in doing a 3-person flip bike for Travis Pastrana?" I was like, that sounds rad. Cruise in, start working on it. I was a 6-month contract, and I've never left since. It's been 15 years or so. What up?
What up? I got something cool here.
What do you got here?
This is the new Indian Sport Scout.
Nice.
And so there's a brand new Scout platform, a little bit more traditional package. The power plant's been restyled, and this is the Sport Scout version of it. So this is the bike that we're gonna be getting. Our inspiration from the bike is Ed Kretz. Nice. So Ed Kretz, historical Indian racer, a family affair as well, built a lot of high-performance Indians back in the day. So my thought process, hey, we race super hooligan bikes, we race FTRs. Let's just take these 2 bikes and combine them, man. You know, we already understand the suspension and everything on FTR, and I think it won't be that crazy difficult to put an FTR front end and potentially even an FTR swing arm on the bike. But if we do the FTR swing arm and we do the FTR front end, that means we can use our new Dimag RSD collab wheels.
Yeah, front and rear wheels, all the hubs, brakes, everything's gonna be FTR.
And we can use Dunlop Q5s.
Dual disc instead of single. Do you want an aggressive tail on it like this?
I think we do a tail section, dude.
So fender, seat,
I mean,
eliminate those.
The bike is built so that you can back half it. I mean, we're kind of building like a super hooligan Indian Sport Scout racer, but we do want to also keep it streetable. I don't want it to be ridiculous. I want it to be super rideable and super fun. Yeah, I think if Ed Kretz was building Indians today, this is the kind of project that he would take on. Ed Kretz was an incredible motorcycle racer, and he was a sportsman, and he was somebody who really was there for the sport at the time. And they called him the Iron Man because he just absolutely crushed the competition just by staying out there and never, ever giving up. Till the checkered flag dropped, Ed Kretz was 100% in.
What's up, guys? How are we? Good to see you.
Thanks for coming.
You're welcome. Good timing. Just got this treasure trove of stuff you guys might want to check out.
We're like embarking on this Indian project with the brand new Scout.
Yeah.
And like we are building a high performance version of this thing, so, you know.
I don't know if there's more Kretz stuff in anybody's collection than this.
Really like this, like, just handwritten with the Indian
Right.
logo.
Let's get the
and
whole different pen
script.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Count the Indians on the road, count the others on the roadside.
Yeah. So good. So I dig deeper into this case and there's these micro cassettes.
What?
Which I assume was an interview. Deeper in the briefcase seems like a transcribed version of probably what's on these tapes, the Ed Kretz story. And it talks about him getting into bikes. He'd actually bought a 23 Chief.
Ed was actually the type of guy who would ride his bike when he first started. He would ride his street bike to the racetrack. He'd take everything off of it, race it, put it back together and ride it home. Ed Kretz is a full hooligan. After reading about him, I was like, this guy's a wildcat. He would have been super fun to hang out with, you know? So I guess there are some parallels there between me and Ed Kretz when I think about it. That should go on the bike. Would you be very upset if I asked you to take your silly ass problems down the street?
You gotta love the old guys.
Oh, you gotta love that. That bike is trick. Restored to a show-winning condition by Sammy Pierce, number 38 is in the same trim as it was in 37 when Kretz won the Daytona 200.
I said, well, I'll ride a Scout too, so I fixed me up a Scout, and then I really went fast. It was so much easier to ride, you know, and when the race started, I went right through the pack and got the lead. Probably in 5 laps, I was in the lead of that one. No footboard, my hands blistered. I was running just as fast at the finish as I was at the start.
The thing I love the most about working on motorcycles, building them, it's the process. I get my dopamine out of building it. So creating something from scratch. I might not ride that much myself, and a lot of people also ask me like, aren't you gonna be bummed when this thing leaves? I'm like, no, because if this thing doesn't leave, I don't get to build another one. I want to see this thing grow so it can leave. That's the whole point. So I'm really much into creating. I love creating new bikes. I have a lot of great opportunities working with Roland. He feeds the machine back here. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing the amazing things that I'm doing. So that's pretty cool. Indian's making these bikes easier and easier to customize every year. It's good that they're listening to some of these builders and we're having back and forth feedback with certain things with risers on how to do the wiring on the switch housings. So someone doesn't have to cut and splice just to change out their handlebars. That's typically the first thing that gets changed, handlebars and a seat. Especially with the back end of this bike, it's nothing but the seat, the whole fender and strut piece unbolts. So there's nothing back there in the way. You could do anything you want. You could turn it into a bobber, a little springer seat, a tail section. It really does make the bike very easy to customize. People want their bikes to be rideable. The rideability has to be spot on, if not better than stock. So we're gonna upgrade the front forks, potentially go to FTR front forks so it has the dual disc brakes in the front. Let the bike sit up a little bit taller so it has clearance in the turns. Possibly taller rear shocks will get you that effect as well, but it kind of tilts the bike forward so it helps the neck angle. More responsive, so definitely performance-based on this bike build.
And what's the vision for kind of the overall vibe or attitude aesthetic of the bike?
Dyna killer.